Hello everybody, my name is Safrisha from Polsan.org, and here we have the Mercedes-Benz S400h. For a long time, this has been the benchmark for all cars of this luxury class, but now it faces very stiff competition from the 7 Series, the BMW 740e. This one is over 3 years old now in Malaysia, so if you're looking for a model in this class, should you still go for this S-Class or the new plug-in hybrid BMW? The S-Class uses a naturally aspirated 3.5-litre V6 engine paired with an electric motor, whereas the BMW uses a smaller 2-litre turbocharged engine with a much larger, much more powerful electric motor. So the differences between driving the Mercedes and the BMW are quite profound, but we'll get to that as we get to drive the car later in a bit. In terms of looks, this car is over 3 years old now, but as you can see, it's still a good-looking car, it's still looking fresh, and it's a classically handsome shape. There's a facelifted version in Europe, but it looks pretty much the same, and that's only coming to Malaysia in about next year or so. Around the side, you get these large 20-inch wheels as standard, and it's a very long car. It stretches to over 5.2 meters long, and this is the long wheelbase version, and the wheelbase is over 3.2 meters long. Around the back, you get a very sleek-looking design, and to me, this is a very effortlessly handsome-looking car. For 2015, they changed the model name from S400 Hybrid to S400h. The S-Class boot is at 510 litres, and that's about 20% bigger than what you get in a 740LE. And also, you get an underfloor boot space here, which can be useful if you want to hide things from plain view. Okay, the interior of the S-Class, if anything, is even better compared to the exterior. It's a lot more luxurious inside. I think it's a little bit closer to the Bentleys and the Rolls-Royce than what the S-Classes and the 7 Series have always been. And that's a good thing. In fact, Mercedes-Maybach, that goes against the Bentleys and the Rolls-Royces. It's got the exact same dashboard and is doing pretty well up there in the upper echelons of the super luxury class. It just feels very special in here. I mean, all these round, classically styled aircon vents. It's something that's unique to the S-Class. You don't have any shared buttons with the lower models like the E and the C. They both share similar functions, similar buttons, but the S-Class, everything you see, everything you can touch, it's all unique to this flagship model. And everything feels a class above as well. Let's take this command interface, for instance. Let's say you're scrolling for a menu. You're moving left to right, and you go to the end of the menu, the rotary dial will stop moving. There's a special force feedback to tell you that you're at the end of the menu, you can't scroll anymore. And this is something unique on the S-Class only. The 7 Series doesn't get this force feedback option. And as for the screen itself, this whole wide cockpit double screen layout was impressive at the time when it first launched, but now if you look closer, it's a little bit low res even compared to the newer E-Class. The E-Class has got the same resolution for this screen and that screen, whereas this model has got a slightly lower screen on this one. As for the rest of the cabin, this car really feels a class above even compared to the latest 7 Series. To me personally, 7 Series looks a little bit like a fancier 5 Series, whereas this one there's no clear connection between the S-Class and the E-Class. This is unique. It is a proper flagship model. One thing I don't like though is this steering wheel design. It's a 2-spoke design unique to the S-Class with a nice old school Mercedes-Benz script down here. But the 2-spoke design doesn't quite cut it for me. I think the AMG line model's 3-spoke wheel is slightly nicer. As for the color combination, if you don't like this light grey and white combo, you can opt for black or brown if you want to. But whatever color you get, you still get this standard leather instead of Napa leather that you get in the 7 Series. And in fact, the leather that you get on top here on the dashboard, that's Artico leather. That is man-made leather, not even genuine leather. But I tell you what, Napa leather or not, the front seats are supremely comfortable. To me, it's by far the best seats in the business. It's very comfortable, it's very wide, very, very supportive, and it's just so soft. You do not get much better front seats in this class. Interesting features that I like on this car include this center console cover. It works on a swivel concept, so you can open it on either sides, opening up to the same space here. But the space down here is actually very, very shallow because the aircon system routes just underneath that, so it's not like you can put large items down here. Next, you also get night vision control over there. That is really cool at night. You won't use this all the time, but it's something cool to show off to your friends. This car has something called split view, where the center screen can display different views for the front passenger as well as the driver. And it also has something called air balance, which is basically an integrated perfume that sprays an air freshener into the aircon system. But what's going to be more important to the actual owners of this car is how the rear seats feel. And in this boss seat, this car is peerless basically. The latest 7 Series gets very close to the S-Class in terms of rear seat comfort, but this is still the best in the business. The wheelbase of this car is actually slightly shorter compared to the BMW 7 Series. But as you can see, it's not short on space. You can stretch out, you can put your feet up. There's a lot of space both in your headroom as well. And if you think there's not enough space, you can just press this button over here and, like a boss, move the front seat forward. As for the seats itself, you get plenty of controls. You get ventilation here, heater function over here, and an executive seating function. This it takes a bit of time to set up, but as you can see, just by holding this button, the front seat goes forward and it reclines forward as well. And then my own seat will recline like a business class seat on an airplane, and also get an Ottoman surface down here, as you will see. And once it's done, you get this very nice leaning back position, and you can work here, you can sleep, do whatever you want. It's a very nice feeling. Other controls available back here include the sunroof. You can open it here. You have controls to your own electric sunblind back here, and of course electric sunblinds for both the rear windows. And of course back here you also get your very own 2-zone climate control, and down here there's a DVD player to play movies on your rear screens. But I don't know about you, I stopped buying DVDs about 10 years ago. And the other input option is VGA. I think a much more modern HDMI input will be much better, like what they offer in the 7 Series. If you're planning to use this car as a full 5-seater, I would recommend that you don't, because as you can see here, I'm not the tallest person in the world, and if I sit upright, my hair is already touching the ceiling, and the seat is not exactly the most comfortable seats in the middle here. So yeah, like most owners, we'll be using this car as a strict 4-seater, and you can fold the center seat down here to become a very nice armrest. Now, in terms of safety, the S-Class has pretty much everything you can think of. It has autonomous emergency braking and all sorts of driver assists. It also has 8 airbags plus something called belt bag. This one, there's an airbag included in the rear seat belt itself, so if you go into a severe crash, the belt will inflate like a small little airbag across your chest to absorb any sort of impact. And this is the only car in the class to have this feature. Few other cool features include the 13-speaker Burmester sound system over here. It looked really cool, especially the grills and the back and the front doors. But to be honest, they don't sound that good. The BMW 7 Series with its Harman Kardon system sound much better. And Mercedes-Benz is also very proud to tell you that not a single bulb is used in this car. Every single lighting element uses full LED technology. And on the ambient lighting, you can choose between 6 colors. But of course, this full LED lighting system, it was cool 3-4 years ago when it first came out. Nowadays, even the C-Class has got the same feature. Alright, that's enough about the static bits. Let's go back to the front seat and let's go for a drive. The first things first is that there's a complete lack of sound from the outside. You don't hear much from the tires, you don't hear much from there's no wind noise as well. And that's mainly due to the use of double glazing on the windows. Basically, the windows are double layered, so wind can't come in to make noise inside. Comfort is pretty much what this car is all about, really, just to make you feel very relaxed when you're driving. Apparently, when Mercedes was developing this car, they had test drivers wearing heart monitors, with monitoring their heart rates, and they made sure that the test riders had an even lower heart rate when they got out of the car compared to when they first got in. So they felt more relaxed while driving. And you can really feel that approach here. Everything that you touch, the steering wheel, the throttle pedal, everything's very damped, and gives you a very nice, relaxed feeling behind the wheel. You may ask, isn't that standard across all the cars in this class? Well, yes and no. The BMW 7 Series has gotten as close as it has ever been to the S-Class in terms of riding comfort, but the S-Class still has that small little advantage when it comes to absolute comfort, absolute refinement. Next on the list is performance, and this car has a 3.5 litre naturally aspirated V6 engine, and that makes 306 horsepower and 370 Newton meters of torque. And on top of that is an electric motor, and that provides an additional 250 Newton meters of torque. And you can really feel this when you drive. As soon as you press on the accelerator, which is very damped by the way, you get a nice surge of power, like immediate power, and that comes from the electric motor. But this is a very different approach compared to BMW. BMW uses a 2-litre turbocharged engine with a much more powerful electric motor. So on that car, it's not quite as effortlessly smooth as this car. This car feels like a much larger naturally aspirated engine, like a V8 or something. So as you press along, you get a nice surge, a linear surge going forward. Whichever one is better, I suppose that's up to your own preference. For me, a car where you want the experience to be as smooth as possible, this is the one to have. But of course, there's a much bigger fundamental difference between the BMW and the Mercedes-Benz. This is just a normal hybrid, whereas the BMW is a plug-in hybrid. And plug-in, it's in the name. You have to plug the car into a charger to charge up the battery, because it's a much larger battery. Whereas this hybrid, you just drive it like a normal car. You just fuel up at petrol stations, and the car will do everything else. It will automatically charge the battery up for when you need the extra performance, and especially when you're in town in traffic, the engine will turn off. You will get a full EV mode to crawl in traffic, so without using any fuel. But of course, the EV range is much smaller. On the 7 Series, you get about 35 to 40 kilometers of full EV range. So if you're looking for that Tesla no engine sound kind of raw EV performance, this is not the one to get. So why should you buy this car? Like I said, it's all about the refinement and the comfort of it all. You do not buy this car to drive fast on back roads. You'd buy an AMG for that. Don't buy the S-Class, because, well, there is a sport button over there which tightens up the suspension, the steering system, and even the throttle. You don't really want to do that because it's just not all that capable. This is the best handling S-Class that's ever been, but you still feel the full 2-ton weight of this car swinging around when you take corners fairly quickly. So you do want to drive this car sedately. Another nice bonus that you get with this car is something called Lane Keep Assist, and this works together with the adaptive cruise control system that you get on this car. It's called Distronic Plus. With both systems engaged, you can go on a highway and engage the systems, and it will take care of your throttle and braking controls, as well as a little bit of the steering control. So you can just press a button and the car will take care of all the steering, all the throttle, all the braking functions. It's not quite full autonomous driving just yet. We're still a couple of years before that, but it does make cruising on the highway a lot more relaxed. This system isn't exactly new in Malaysia. We've tested similar systems in the Mercedes-Benz, in the BMW 7 Series, and of course the Volvo XC90. And among the systems that we've tried, Mercedes-Benz has got the best systems in terms of smoothness. In the Volvo, there's a very strict speed cut. It doesn't work anywhere above 110 kilometers per hour, and in the newer model, it's 130 kilometers per hour. And in the 7 Series, the controls are a bit abrupt. It's as if you've got a very inexperienced driver yanking on the steering wheel to keep the car straight. And even the cruise control function, it's not all that smooth. It's like there's heavy braking, there's heavy acceleration. It's not as smooth as you want it to be. The one in the S-Class, however, gets it really correct. There's minimal movements, front and back, left and right, when you've got all the settings turned on. In terms of running costs, there's a very big difference between driving the Mercedes-Benz and the 7 Series. This has a much bigger engine, a 3.5-litre V6 compared to a 2-litre in the BMW. So you end up paying a lot more in terms of road tax compared to the BMW. How much more exactly? Well, let's just say more than 10 times the cost of the BMW's road tax. And it's the same story with fuel consumption. This being a hybrid rather than a plug-in hybrid in the BMW, you end up using about 30 to 40% more fuel on everyday driving. And in terms of maintenance, in terms of servicing cost, BMW gives you 5 years free service, whereas you get nothing of that sort with the Mercedes. So that's about it for the Mercedes-Benz S400h. It's no longer the newest or the most advanced car in the class, but it still makes a very compelling case for itself in terms of outside looks and interior comfort. It's getting very close at the top now, and most likely it's going to come down to your own brand preference. So if it's up to you, would you get the S-Class or the BMW 7 Series? Let us know in the comments below. This is me, Hafrishah from paulson.org. Thank you for watching.